Hey, how are you? I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Fantasy Six Pack to talk about Sunday Night Football. The Cincinnati Bengals go not far, due east maybe, to battle the New York Giants in New York at MetLife Stadium. Kickoff is at 8:20 p.m. Right now, the over/under sitting at around 46 points even, which will be a factor later in this game because I think it's an over kind of deal for the Bengals. And overall, we shall see. Before I get into the recent betting trends, some player projections, and who's going to win, final score, all of that stuff, make sure you get to the website at fantasy6pack.net. When you get there, you can look around, see what best suits your needs, hit the Discord, which is free, some premium channels, and we'll go on from there. When we look at this game, kickoff at 8:20 p.m., over under at 46 points, as I said, Cincinnati and the Giants. There are a few storylines in this one, depending on which side of the field you're on or what the coin toss will be. But when we look at the running backs in this game, that's where I want to spend some time, given the fact that Devin Singletary is out. That means Tyrone Tracy Jr. is very much in play. What about Eric Gray? That fumble on the goal line, that all but assured he will not be the Giants' RB1 in a pinch after he fumbles on the goal line, and then it was returned 101 yards for a touchdown. That's as disastrous as it gets. Anybody who's a fan, an NFL fan, you're watching your favorite team, they're on the goal line, you're like, oh my God, all they got to do is punch it in and the opposing team takes it. That is just an insane kind of thing to deal with. But hey, Giants fans, that's what you get. Lions fans, Dallas fans, whatever it is. When we look at the quarterbacks here, Joe Burrow or Daniel Jones, Joe Burrow has been, fantastic. It's such a strange occurrence that the Cincinnati Bengals are 1-4. They've played bad, but it's been their defense, let's say, because Burrow, when I look down at my notes, and I need to do a better job of, I try and cram everything into the piece of paper, and I have this little black pen I write so tiny, I have to do like this to see it, and it's so disastrous in a way. But Burrow, 25 to 26 completions in this one, 280 yards, at minimum 2 touchdown passes. And when you look at Burrow, he's got at least three, actually the last 3 games, he has 3 passes of 20 or more yards. So that's huge chunkage, yardage plays when you look at that. And they've been going to Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is back to full strength. But Joe Burrow has to be in play. MVP captain, absolutely, given the Giants' propensity for not really defending quarterbacks. Granted, they're 16th overall, but Joe Burrow is going to slice and dice the Giants here this evening. When we look at Daniel Jones, he hasn't been awful as well. Before the season started, everybody had already saying this is his last season. They signed him to a huge deal contract, and he hasn't done a thing. But he's got multi-touchdowns in 3 of the last 4 games. He's getting it done in a way, right? The Giants are 2-3. They're at home tonight. Can they pull off what would be an upset, which is strange given the fact that Cincinnati's 1-4, the Giants are 2-3. Sunday Night Football hosting. The point spreads will say that the Giants are an underdog, but hey, give me Daniel Jones at 21 to 22 completions, 220 passing yards, 2 touchdowns as well, and you're looking at 5 to 6 carries for around 25 to 30 yards. And get this, the Bengals 28th overall against defending opposing quarterback. So Daniel Jones could have a decent night. It'll be above the Mendoza line, let's say. Is there cash to be made with using Daniel Jones in an MVP captain spot? Yes and no. I'm going to do slightly no, given the offensive skill, other offensive skill positions I'd likely take here. When we look at the running backs, as I said at the beginning, there's no Devin Singletary, so that opens things up for Tyrone Tracy Jr., who had one heck of a game last week. The Bengals right now 20th overall against opposing running backs. Tyrone Tracy, 14 to 15 carries, 60 yards, plus you're looking at, 2 to 3 receptions for another 10 to 15 yards here. And get this, the Cincinnati Bengals right now, they are very bad against opposing running backs, or just rushers in general, whether it's the quarterback or once the wide receiver gets the ball, yards after catch. But Cincinnati's giving up 151.4 rushing yards a game. Tyrone Tracy in for a big game? Yes and no, but everybody under the sun is expecting that. So Well, I have Tyrone Tracy highlighted in the notes per usual. MVP captain, sure, you can go that route if you want, but the ownership percentage is going to be through the roof because again, everybody on Earth, everybody under the moon, kind of the same thing. The Earth is here, Moon's here, so it's all encompassing. Tyrone Tracy is going to be highly owned, rightfully so. We could pivot to Eric Gray in a GPP single entry spot in this one. Eric Gray 7-5 on FanDuel, $3,000 on DK. Do the New York Giants coaching staff, do they say, hey, look, you fumbled on the goal line, it was returned for 100 yards, it's going to be replayed for years and years, long after you're gone, but we're going to give you some work here to see if you get over the hump, do better than what you did last week, or do they keep him on the sideline and let him stew in that? I don't think that's a good move, and the New York Giants are, I think, a better ran organization than that. Eric Gray, 6-7 carries, 25 to 30 yards. Plus, 2 to 3 receptions for another 20 yards. And so to me, Tyrone Tracy, Eric Gray, that 1-2 punch makes for one heck of a GPP single entry lineup. When we look at the Cincinnati Bengals running backs, Zach Moss, Chase Brown. Zach Moss was brought in to be the lead back, but Chase Brown has all the momentum right now. And as it stands, Chase Brown is questionable, but he should play by all accounts. And when you look at both of them, Zach Moss, Chase Brown could be a 1-2 punch as well, right? You could have one lineup with Tyrone Tracy, MVP captain, and then Eric Gray in the flex, and then you run it with Daniel Jones, and the bring back could be Jamar Chase and T. Higgins if salary lines up. Or you could go the route with Joe Burrow, and then bing bang boom with Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Put Chase Brown at MVP captain, and Zach Moss and Joe Burrow flex spots, and then you just rotate those three guys in. If you have a nickel, you can do those nickel GPPs where you can get in 1,000 lineups and it's not going to cost you a ton of dough, mainly for research, right? Because if you put a nickel lineup in and it gets first, I think it's like $150, which is a decent amount of change, but given how many people are in that nickel entry, or you bump up to a quarter if you want. I mean, just giving advice the best I can. Or if you have, $100 you want to put in each lineup, I'm trying to put on the safe side as far as you're concerned. I don't want to be yelled at or put down for costing people a bunch of dough. So you're free and clear to do as you please. But Zach Moss, Chase Brown, that 1-2 punch is absolutely in play. Moss, 11-12 carries, 50 yards, 2 to 3 receptions for around 25 yards there. So you're looking at just shy of like 80 all-purpose yards. When you look at Chase Brown, 10-11 carries, 50 yards, plus 2 to 3 receptions for another 20 yards. As I said, Chase Brown has the momentum, but he's not getting any of the goal line work. So everything he has to do, he's got to get in from where they give him the ball, right? 25-yard line, 30-yard line, down the sideline, touch the pylon, and he's in, not getting goal line work. When we look at the wide receivers, it's Jamar Chase's world tonight, and we're all living in it, rightfully so. 9 to 10 targets, 7-8 receptions, 90 yards and a touchdown. You can add in a Daniel Jones touchdown pass and an interception. This is kind of like pivoting for like a GPP, or a parlay if you want. Daniel Jones, a touchdown pass and an interception. Joe Burrow, 2 touchdown passes and an interception. And then take Jamar Chase over the reception yards, which I think is like 72.5, and a touchdown. That would be a killer parlay. Not really a lotto ticket given, what we have in store here. When you look at T. Higgins, 8-9 targets, 5-6 receptions, 70 yards, and he is $4,000 cheaper on FanDuel than Jamar Chase. Andre Yosavash, 3 to 4 targets, 2 to 3 receptions, 30 yards. When we look at the Giants wide receivers here, it's Wan'Dale Robinson remains kind of, in my notes I put a blankie. He's like a safe space, I should say, for Daniel Jones. And Wan'Dale Robinson, 8-9 targets, 6 to 7 receptions, 60 to 65 yards. When you look at, I've highlighted Slayton in my notes, and I have him 6-7 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, 450 yards. So you're saying, well, he has 1 or 2 less receptions and around 10 to 15 less receiving yards because the price point. sticks, right? Wan'Dale Robinson, 11 grand on FanDuel. Slayton only 8.5 on FanDuel. In the same kind of difference on DK. Wan'Dale 8.2 on DK. Slayton 6.6 on DK. Cincinnati's allowed 10 passing touchdowns so far this season. So everybody is going to be on, let's say, Tyrone Tracy Jr. and Wan'Dale Robinson. Rightfully so. In a GPP, we need to get, I've done this dance a million times together, watching videos or reading work and content and stuff like that. Darius Slayton will be less owned, and there is still the fact that he could go off just as much as Wan'Dale Robinson at a cheaper price point. Jalen Hyatt, 3 to 4 targets, 2 to 3 receptions, 30 yards, nothing crazy. When we look at the tight ends, I want to talk about Theo Johnson briefly. He was in bottom of the barrel. Come to find out on FanDuel, at least, Sunday Night Football remains into the main slate. But Theo Johnson has come in, and talk about momentum with Chase Brown. What about Theo Johnson at tight end? The young kid, 2 to 3 receptions, 20 to 25 yards. If he scores a touchdown, it's all gravy. And let me remind you that, again, Cincinnati has given up 10 passing touchdowns this season. Why can't Daniel Jones hit Theo for a touchdown in this one? That would be beautiful. So Theo remains in my the small pool of an MVP captain kind of player in the tight end spot. Mike Gesicki, Drew Sample, nothing going on there. Again, I have Burrow, 280 yards, probably closer to 300 and multiple touchdowns. I just think they're going to go to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and we'll move on. When you look at the DSTs, not much going there. I would choose the Bengals DST just because I have the Giants to score around 14 to 17 points. I think the Bengals sack Daniel Jones 3 to 4 times. I think there's an interception. I think there's a fumble recovery there. But when you look at the Giants as well, they're going to give up 28 to 31 total points. So, the upside isn't there, but there will be a few turnovers. I think Burrow throws an interception. Burrow gets sacked a couple times. It's just not enough to move the needle for the Giants DST in any form or fashion in a single game slate. When we look at the kickers, Evan McPherson, Greg Joseph, nothing much going on there. Of them all, I would think I'd prefer Greg Joseph as the Giants kicker because there's going to be a case in point for, an extra field goal or two. Maybe the Giants stall out inside the red zone. So give me Greg Joseph a few extra points, but that 3 for 3 field goals in comparison to Evan McPherson, only 2 for 2 field goals because it's going to be mainly extra points for Cincy and Evan McPherson. I have the Bengals to win this one, 28 to 17, looking at 4 touchdowns coming out of the Bengals camp in this one. Joe Burrow probably responsible for 3 of them. In the air, Jamar Chase, 90 yards and a touchdown. I could see a case to be made for Chase Brown to find the end zone as well on a reception and just pump up those numbers. So give me Cincinnati to win this one, 28 to 17. Few recent betting trends that I find captivating. Cincinnati 6-3 against the spread. Their last 9 games against the Giants. Take Cincinnati minus the 3.5. And then when you look at the New York Giants, 9-3 against the spread themselves, their last 12. And the under has come in 5 of the Giants' last 6 games. As I said, Cincinnati Bengals win this one 28 to 17. They get a road win. They've been awful on the road. To be fair, that 1-4 is misleading in a way. I can't be the only one who thinks that, given how well Joe Burrow has played. He's been ice cold in a good way. Ice in his veins, I should say, hotter than a pistol. That's the right comparison. So give me Cincinnati to win 28 to 17 on the strength of Burrow and Jamar Chase, while the Giants running back duo of Tyrone Tracy and Eric Gray get some stuff done as well. Be good, be safe, and I'll see you again soon for Monday Night Football. Cincinnati wins 28-17. Bye-bye.